Hi there. How are you guys doing today? It's a great day. Are you ready for some more Bible events and what time periods they fit in? Hey, I have an idea. Today, let's begin with our song. That way we will say or sing all 17 of our Bible periods before we decide which events go into them. Are you ready? I want you to sing along with me. I hope you've been practicing. Let's go. Before the flood, and then the flood, scattering of the people, patriarchs, exodus, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest of the land, judges, then united kingdom, divided kingdom, Judah alone, then captivity. Return from captivity, years of silence, life of Christ, early church, then the letters to the Christians. How did you do? I almost messed up once. I bet you did better than me. How about we go right into our events and let's get started, okay? An queen named Esther saves her people from death. Is that in the Old or the New Testament? The Old Testament. And what time period does that go in? That's during the captivity. How about another word for letters is an epistle? Well, that's a new word, isn't it? Where would we find an epistle in the Bible? In the Old or the New Testament? The New Testament. And what time period do you think we would find that under? A letter? The letters to the Christians. Very good. How about a miracle where a blind man is healed? Is that in the Old Testament or the New Testament? The New Testament. Jesus did the healing. What time period do you think that is? The life of Christ. Good. You're putting things together now, aren't you? How about when Elijah was taken away by God in a chariot of fire? Old or New Testament? Old Testament. And what time period? That would be the divided kingdom. Elijah was a prophet during the divided kingdom. Our next one is Moses. He sees something unusual and he goes to it, and when he gets there, he hears the voice of God speaking to him from the burning bush that isn't burned up. Is that story in the Old or the New Testament? The Old Testament. And what time period does that fall under? The Exodus. That's right, God was going to send him to Egypt to get his people out. Okay, our next one is about a woman named Deborah, and she helped the nation of Israel. Is that in the Old or the New Testament? That's an Old Testament. And what time period does she fit in? That one's kind of tough. Deborah was the only woman that was a judge. Our period is the judges. Good. All right, here's another one. He was a prophet. His name was Jonah. And he tried to run away from God. And he found himself in the belly of a big fish. Is that story in the Old or the New Testament? Old Testament. What time period would that fit in? He was a prophet during the divided kingdom. All right, our next one is about Paul and Silas. They were arrested and put in jail. And you know what they did? They sang. Is that in the Old or the New Testament? The New Testament. What time period is that? The early church. Why did they sing? They had faith in God. They were happy in their hearts. All right, how about when Jacob tricks his brother Esau? Old or New Testament? Old Testament. And what time period did they live in? They lived during the patriarchs. Okay, how about this one? Joshua divides up the land of Canaan among the tribes of Israel. Old or New Testament? Old Testament. And what time period? Invasion and conquest of the land. Okay, next one. Moses strikes a rock in anger. Old or New Testament? Old Testament, isn't it? And what time period? This was during the wandering in the wilderness. He was supposed to get water from the rock, but not strike it in anger. That was one of Moses sinned, and he was punished for that sin. Okay, our next one is Hannah. Hannah prays and prays for a baby boy. And she gets that baby boy and she names him Samuel. Is that in the Old or the New Testament? The Old Testament. And what time period? This was during the judges. Samuel was going to grow up to be one of the judges for God. All right, how about when Joseph becomes a ruler in Egypt? Is that in the Old Testament or the New Testament? The Old Testament. And what time period? He was one of the patriarchs. Okay, our last one today. Last one. Think real hard. It's about John the Baptist. He went about preaching and teaching, and he even baptized Jesus. Is that in the Old or the New Testament? The New Testament. And what time period? He lived at the same time as Jesus. So it's during the life of Christ. Hey, we got through all of those. Did you know them all? Did you have some trouble with a couple of them? Again, you can watch this back until you get them all right. I appreciate you joining me, and I appreciate you wanting to study some Bible events and time periods with me. I enjoy it, and I hope you do too. You have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.